stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, minutes of the regular commission meeting held September 19th, 2022.
Motion.
Motion by Hamry, Commissioner Hamry, and seconded by Commissioner Pierce. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Minutes of the special meeting held September 28th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Robbins first,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pierce. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, public hearing, 5:30 PM for conditional use permit for accessory dwelling unit. Mike, are you speaking to that?
Again, Mayor, we have a memo from the planning commission as well.
Mhm.
So if there's anybody here to speak to the public hearing.
Anybody in the chambers wishing to speak to that conditional use permit? If not, we have any action? Do we have to motion that?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So there's a recommendation from the planning commission after the public hearing, once you close the public hearing.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to the planning commission's memo, the conditional use permit, which was recommended by them to allow for that to happen.
That's correct, Mayor.
Mike, isn't there normally a drawing or something that comes with these?
Typically, there would be a map showing the location. You know, in this particular case, the address is there, so it's on Country Club Road. And it's just a conditional use permit to allow the accessory dwelling unit. Basically, you know, the mother-in-law quarters, they call it, on top of a garage. And so they need a special conditional use permit for that. Planning commission reviewed it and has the recommendation before you in the memo.
There's no further questions. I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Motion by Commissioner Hamry,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Hatch. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Visitors and delegations, we don't have any at this time listed, or,
It's the employee recognition.
okay. Well, I guess this is the time we'll move into the employee recognition, and I am pleased to be able to present Joe Kanowski, Chief Joe Kanowski and Chief Nate Bennett. If you present yourselves, we do the smaller one first.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, the smaller one, there's somebody with, if you would please come forward.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you don't get there. Okay, on behalf of your 5 years of service, I present you with the certificate of 5 years.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief, and Chief Nate Bennett. And now, for 20 years of service, I would ask that Ray Forsberg please come forward. 20 years, congratulations. We're gonna take a picture, but congratulations, Ray. Well, I can't believe it, 20 years already. Yeah, stay forward. We're gonna have a picture. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay,
Slap that
let's
chair
everybody
out
can
here.
get in here.
Holy cow, Ray, you started when I was 12.
20 years.
Oh my gosh, I
Supposed to be.
All right.
Okay.
We'll be more efficient at this next time. So. All right. I'd add that we have a few more that are coming up here in 2022, so each meeting will have about 3.
That will be good. I just want to say thank you for all your dedication. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
5 years of dedication, a long time, especially in some of those jobs. Oh, okay. I guess I just want to add that any city employees are very valuable to us, and we appreciate all the work that they do. You know, sometimes they don't get the necessary recognition that is warranted, and unfortunately, it goes without saying, but our employees are very valuable to the city of Devils Lake, and we do thank them for all they do. Okay, Now, commission portfolios, and we'll start with Commissioner Pierce.
Yeah, we got a couple things from the fire department. Our new guy started last week. That seems to be going pretty well. We're gonna get him all caught up on everything and all his procedures, so. I'd like to get some out-of-state travel approved for Mr. Exner. He's going to the Fallen Firefighters Foundation deal out in
Oh,
Baltimore.
Emmitsburg? Oh,
Yep.
awesome.
So it's all paid for already. He just needs permission to go out and do it. We have a drive-through flu shot on October 13th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it'll be right at the station. We'll just open up that center bay and people can just drive right through, get their shots. So, and then the school tours, obviously it's fire prevention month. We'll be working all month on school tours and different things like that. So that's the update we got. And also the fishing derby tickets are up.
So we need to act on that request.
I'll make a motion for out-of-state travel for the requested individual.
I'll second it. Motion by Commissioner Robbins and seconded by Commissioner Hamry. Any discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Perfect. You may leave. Wish of luck. Win the game. Another Firebird win.
Hope so.
Okay. All right. And now Commissioner Robbins.
Streets, Mike?
With the streets, they're working on some final touch up on some potholes, working on some alleys, and then we hope to get out on College Drive to remove some of the berms where you have the curb. And over time, the salt sand that we put on the roadways is built up on the berm, and so you see the berm is much higher than the top of the curb. And in those particular cases, it's tough to mow, but when it's all salt sand, make sure you don't get very good grass to grow anyway. So we're hoping to get in there to peel that back in some areas along College Drive, especially. And then improve some drainage up near the high school. So they're working on that with the streets and working to get equipment ready in case the white stuff comes a little bit early, like that's in the past. But that's all I have for streets.
Okay. What are you using to peel that back?
Some of our own equipment and the skid steer. We've used a motor grader in the past that worked pretty good, but I'm letting those guys play and learn.
Didn't hurt the grass or nothing?
Well, it'll be hurting the grass because we're peeling off.
Okay.
But we're just going to lay it back in the boulevard area, that first 5 to 10 feet, try and slope it back.
All right, anything in engineering?
The projects are listed for the pay estimates, so we can go through them at that point if you want.
Okay. All right, I've only got one other thing. I think I talked to everybody individually, and everybody's familiar with the CAD system they're trying to purchase at the LEC. There was a meeting maybe 2 weeks ago, Joe, possibly.
Yeah.
And the vendor showed up and a bunch of the surrounding services or service providers showed up. And the discussion was focused on the CAD system, what the cost of the system would be and what the annual maintenance fees would be. The cost of the system is 193 or 98, I can't remember, 190, let's call it $200,000 for the system itself. And the annual maintenance fees were like 133 per year. We visited about a number of things, but the biggest thing was how are we going to pay for it and how do we split it up amongst the entities? My suggestion was that the city take care of the purchasing, the one-time payment of $200,000 for the CAD system. That way we can just move forward. We don't have to have everybody else, the other counties and the other service agencies figuring out who owes what. My reasoning for that was that we do have some money left in the COVID dollars that we haven't extended yet or expended yet. And I just thought it would be just a nice way to thank the surrounding communities that do support us with all kinds of different things. So that was my thought process on that. The annual service contract after that would be up to each individual county or service entity that there'd be they would be billed proportionally to their use of service calls. And I think I forwarded that to yourself, Spencer. I don't know if I forwarded it to everybody else, but I think that Rob had worked on that before you left, and there was a formula to break down that $133,000 a year per agency. I think the city's part of it was like 55,000. The fire department was only like less than 1,000, and I think the ambulance was close to 10,000. That's what our annual cost would be going forward. I don't know if you had any thoughts or had a chance to look at it as far as the ambulance. Would we expect to take care of theirs, or would we expect them to take care of theirs? The ambulance, if this goes forward, type of thing. I don't know for.
As far as the one-time expense for this project, I mean, there is money there. We purchasing it, and number one, I'd like to bring it on as a formal agenda item so Chief can talk about what it actually does and why there's an established need for the police department and all the law enforcement entities for this CAD system. So I think the one-time cost with the extra cash flow that we have sitting in the general fund right now, we can pay for that. We have the money to do it. Now, whether or not it's taking up the other entities' bills, that's a commission decision to make. But as far as paying for the one-time cost, and like, you know, in the conversations that we've had previously, it was always that longer-term commitment. And I think that we have ways to accommodate that long-term commitment through you know, possible changes to the cash flow practices that we currently have. Currently now the city's sitting on a lot of cash, and if we get some of it into the market, we could begin to start making some interest on that, and we could probably reliably have an extra income stream that we're not currently using to our fullest advantage right now. And I think about our equipment reserves for police and fire, and trying to find a long-term funding stream for those. And I think with all those things incorporated, we can find a way to fund the long-term cost for this if it's the commission's wish to move forward with it.
I spoke with Chief Bennett to talk about a system that they're looking to get to, if they would communicate with each other, the CAD system and their system. And he spoke with manufacturers and everything and all the representatives, and he said, yes, he believes it's well worth the money to go forward with, to communicate with their system once they get it.
We know how important, this system will be. I'd make a motion to do the 195 or I think it's 198. 198.
Just so I'm clear, you were just saying if we paid the initial, we weren't going to pay the annual maintenance?
No, there is annual fees ongoing after. It's a one-time, let's call it fee, to
Mhm.
purchase the system, which is $198. The annual maintenance fees thereafter are $133,000 per year to be split up between the counties, the city, and the fire department and the ambulance. There is a formula. I sent out a spreadsheet that Spencer looked at. In my mind, the city would be on the hook for about $55,000 a year after that for our share of the annual maintenance fees. The ambulance was about $10,000, and I didn't know if that. This is the discussion for another day, maybe. But do we want to absorb that for them, or do we ask them to pay for that because they are a for-profit private entity type of thing?
But specifically in regarding the ambulance service, I know that they were in here. They were talking about their facility and potentially going for a loan and some contribution. Maybe in combination with these two things, there's a happy medium where maybe if we pick up the CAD system, that would maybe possibly to show our support towards them, and they find it another way to long-going fund the building and the loan that they're going for. I think we could just benefit from a conversation with Sean, Mr. Root over there at the ambulance service on, number one, if it's the commission's desire to do that, and what their needs are as well.
Yeah,
So-
I'd like to say that would be I think just to get it ordered, it's gonna take about a year. I believe that sounds correct. It wouldn't be up and running for a year. The initial upfront is 50% of the 200,000. So I think they need 100,000 just to take the order and get it rolling. The next 100,000 isn't due until it's up and running. So we would only have to do the 100,000 initially. The other 100 would be about a year from now. And then our maintenance contract would start, I think, once it's up and running. I think they want that on the front side, not on the
And you
backside.
wanna- I think that's after the first year. So
After-
technically, at 3 years, you'd have to pay that maintenance fee.
Okay, that I'm not clear on, but you might be right there.
Well, he was talking about it, tell me if I'm wrong or not, 'cause I know you were a big player in this. It's $331,000 is the total cost, is what that would cost. They wanted $195,000 pretty much as an upfront cost to pay for servers, training, and the software production itself, and pretty much have that in their pocket to say that that's what we're gonna be doing, correct?
And I'm gonna add quick to that 133, that's annual. That I really feel that's negotiable. You know, that's kind of bloated a little bit in my opinion, because it's everybody having access to everything. And I don't think that that's necessarily the way it's gonna be. And that's where unfortunately, the chief, fortunately enough, the chief has taken the project on, but that's where we need to go around and identify who's actually gonna use what components, get that number trimmed down, then go back to Motorola or to Central Square and say, hey, here's what we've been able to do. We'd really like to see it get down to this number. And I think you'll be able to do that to some extent. So I think the 133, well, that's the preliminary number. I don't think that's what you're going to see when it's all said and done.
Of this 200,000, is there hardware that goes in every
Yes.
vehicle, that, right?
Well, not necessarily. That's up, usually that's ran off of your computer. Everybody has a mobile data terminal.
But some, in law enforcement, they have, but
It'll-
fire,
Some may
It's
have a
not
pocket.
set
It
up
only
like
covers
that.
the hardware at the LEC. It doesn't cover any of the hardware that may be necessary in any of the patrol vehicles or other vehicles.
So there's additional
But
costs.
but there isn't an
Yeah.
expectation that there should be, because most of the devices they already have should be compatible.
Okay.
So they shouldn't have much.
These
for
new
extra.
radios and interoperable communication radios, are they compatible with that?
I don't think the radios are, they're not in the same category. We're
Okay.
talking about the programming that
Yeah,
runs the CAD
okay.
programs, the computer aided dispatching, the mapping.
Right, yeah.
And another cost difference that we're gonna be looking at is that, that entire $133,000 was split up among all entities outside of the jail and 911. But the jail in itself is about a $20,000 program that you could take right off the top, that they're the only ones that are gonna use. So $20,000 right there is a jail, and then a lot of departments and a lot of areas that Central Square works with say that CAD is usually picked up by 911. And so it really turns it, that right there to cost, takes it right in half. So it may cost a lot less in the long term, so.
Yeah, it just depends on how you try and slice the apple. If you say you put it all right into dispatch, then we use the formula for service calls, then it would just go as an expense in dispatch, and we all pay for that through the shortfall that we have in dispatch, or it could be split out a few different ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, that seemed like a fairly easy way to do it, but the biggest thing is the upfront cost. I think that would just go a long ways to our friends and neighbors, just to show them that we appreciate them. And
When you say that, that's the other
the
communities
other
that are
counties,
using this stuff.
yeah, counties and New Rockfords and everybody else, because just breaking it down, when you got 20 different entities to break it down with, then you start quibbling about stuff that really, it'd be nice not to have to quibble about. It's just, like say, I would just be super, I just think it'd be nice if we could do it. If we didn't have the money, if it was coming out of the general fund, I would think totally differently. But the fact that we do have some of this COVID money, in my mind, it just seems like a good place to spend it. General fund, totally different conversation.
Well, the CAD system isn't necessary for the up and coming future of emergency services.
Correct.
President Mo, members of the commission, if just administratively, I think for the guidance tonight, if you guys could just maybe, express your, we'll say, support for the system, and we'll continue to do our due diligence on it. And I'd really like to bring this as a formal item at a future meeting, and we can work with both the fire chief, the police chief on a detailed funding plan, just so that we have kind of an idea of how to fund the long-term obligation with the system. Could even propose to you, an option A, option B, option C on how we could, number one, implement this, pay for the upfront cost, as well as a long-term obligation. And I think maybe with the CAD system, just a general support for the project, so we can continue to do our due diligence and get this well tied up for you guys, and maybe even as soon as the next meeting or the meeting thereafter for you.
You brought this up, a week ago?
I just started visiting with everybody, maybe after the last meeting type of thing. I just kind of want every individual to try and just give you an idea of what it was about. Type of thing.
It's probably wise to get that all put together and then then we're knowing all the details and we can see it better or have more information.
Ready in 2 weeks?
I guess I think that is a wise way to go.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so we'll table this or?
Okay, yep, no,
Yep.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Like a PowerPoint?
no,
What?
that's a good way to lose it. Okay. Death by PowerPoint, right? Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hatch?
Mike, you got anything from sanitation other than
I do
still
not.
doing, oh, they're done with that.
I have nothing for sanitation.
Perfect. Rob, I see you're still here, which is awesome.
Yes. And I don't really have much either, just getting my feet under me a little bit. I am registered for my first training course, which is going to be in November. It's egg line valuation, so I'm excited for that. But no, that's all I've got.
Sounds good. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hamry?
Mr. Grassberg.
Our utilities, they're helping us. We encountered another lead line on our water main replacement project. So they'll be working with us to get that lead line replaced. We'll be uncovering a few more service lines in that area yet tonight and tomorrow. Hopefully, we've been very good at any lead lines that have been encountered. The homeowners have been very willing to work with us to get those lead lines replaced. And we've been utilizing utility crews for that. There's also some culverts that we're working on. We're working with the park district on a urban fishing pond project. And with that, we have to improve some culverts up in Ruger Park. Actually, that was the wetlands up in Ruger Park and the dams up in Ruger Park were constructed as part of the city's storm sewer separation project in the late 70s. And so those culverts and crossings are part of our maintenance. And so we're going to utilize some of our old concrete pipe to replace the failed corrugated pipes up there. That work has to get done this fall in advance of that urban fishing project because those culverts are going to be used very heavily if we get a rain event during the construction of the pond. So they're working on that. Hopefully we'll be working on that yet this week. And then they're working to winterize hydrants and get things ready for winter. That's all I have, Commissioner, unless you have other questions.
I was just gonna follow up on your lead line there. When I was down at the League of Cities conference, they actually had lead and copper rule revisions compliance. And right now, the only ones that they've heard of that are doing like we're doing is a city in Ohio. We're ahead of the curve here with our water, pulling them as they're opening up. Like I talked to Mr. Grassgard, Bismarck, and those guys, you said are way behind the 8 ball.
They have, so we've been very fortunate, because of the lead rules, we add chemicals to coat the lead lines and we have a very good system in place. So when we're running the tests on lead concentration in drinking water on those lead service lines, we're well within the requirements of the Department of Health. But some cities, that's a very difficult thing because of the chemistry of their water. And so they're not able to get that coating on the pipes and be able to do the things that we're doing. Bismarck is one of them. They're really having an issue with what's going on with that based on their chemistry.
They have a deadline set where they all have to be removed at some point too, right?
Yep.
So
Let's see, the compliance date is October 6, 2024. That's the final ruling. Your sampling will start January 1st, 2025. And then they've got a thing that's coming out for every city and town that all service lines have to be inventoried. And I mean, it's this huge spreadsheet that you got to go through, click it all, send it off. The new collection protocol for the lead and copper sampling is the first and fifth sample. First is for copper. You throw 2, 3, 4 away. You keep the fifth for your lead. If there's a homeowner now that doesn't want you to do it, there's a waiver they sign. Then it will affect their resale or selling the house in the end. Let's see, what else did they say? So if you've got galvanized to copper, that's no good. It's got to be copper all the way. If if the city replaces their lead half, but the homeowner doesn't, that's not considered done. And right now, the EPA and the federal government, they don't care who owns the service line. Both sides need to be inventoried and done. Let's see. What else do I got? Oh, so, well, we don't have 50,000 people, so our inventories don't have to be online, but we got to have a book where if somebody wants to come in and look at them, it's all there. Yeah, by October 8th, the new spreadsheet will be out for all the water departments to start using for inventorying their lines.
And there'll be a goal for every year we'll be replacing so many lead lines. We've been fairly fortunate because when we started some of our water main replacement projects back in 2004, then we did a significant one in 2010. So we have new service lines from the main up to and including the curb stop. And in those particular cases where we have the lead lines, it's just a matter of opening up the curb stop. You're not taking up asphalt then, you're just taking up grass, opening that up, and then being able to replace those service lines. So we have a process that we could easily move forward with as far as replacing so many lead lines every year, because we've already have a significant portion done as part of water main replacement projects that we've already completed. But yeah, we've been fortunate with the lead line replacement at this point. And then we've been working with the plumber and the homeowner, if it's galvanized after the lead, to get that replaced as well as part of the whole project, so it's taken care of.
And it's got to come 18 inches into the house.
Yeah, we're far beyond that.
Well, but the last thing I'll touch on here is for funding, they're coming up with a funding program. And, if there's something for homeowners around here that, we need to help out, they're funding through the DWSRF. They can't give the loans to the homeowner, but if we've got a bunch of homeowners that come in, they can give the loan to the city, and then we can disperse the money that way. And then it would just be kind of like a assessment back, or like you do when you do any fixing.
Yeah, currently what we're doing is allowing that to be special assessed because we already have the curb stop excavated. That is not part of their cost. The only cost associated for replacing the lead line at that point really is the time that we have in the excavator pulling that lead line and whatever we have into the plumber, rehooking everything up in the house. As far as city personnel, we're throwing the time at it because it's a benefit to us, and we're throwing the pipe at it. And so we're doing a lot of things kind of, on our dime, not out of pocket expenses, but personnel wise to make sure that it's as easy for the property owner to do as possible.
That's great. I think that's a good thing. It's encouraging and helps them along. That's a good way.
Down there, they were very impressed.
Yep.
So it was kind of nice to boost the chest out a little bit.
It
sitting
started
there
a long
and-
time ago. It was still,
Yep.
it started when I was still working with them. So it's a problem.
It's a very, very proud moment down
Way
there.
back.
That's a long time ago.
It goes back a ways.
So
No, it's great. It's always nice to be ahead of the game.
But-
Perfect.
that's all I got, Mayor.
Chief, anything?
We had so our detectives positions have been kind of jumbled around a little bit. We had John Michelson who accepted the position as detective, has in the meantime turned it down for one reason or another. So in turn, we ended up, since Alex Schwab tested with him just very recently, we moved him into that position. But knowing that there's nepotism, being that Sue Schwab is his mother and can't supervise him, she has allowed herself to be demoted to a detective's position, and in turn, Ben Harkness has moved to sergeant. So he's in charge of our detective division. So we'll see how that works out. I suspect it. I mean, I got a lot of confidence in Ben. He's got a long-term supervisory role. He's been a supervisor for a long time. So he knows how to supervise people. And I asked him specifically if that dynamic would be something that he could deal with. And he said he'd have no problem with it. So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us, but we'll see. And like I've always said, give people opportunity, and we'll see how it goes. Outside of that, that's the only thing going on in my department.
Thank you, Chief.
This will be great. He's awesome. Did a really nice job.
I think so too.
Spencer.
Just as Commissioner Hamry had alluded to, the League of Cities was a couple weeks ago, was there on behalf of the city with Commissioner Hamry there. It's always perspective gaining to understand that the issues that you're working on here are the same issues everyone else is working on too. So things aren't unique to Devil's Lake. And, common themes, workforce, specifically CDL certifications and as far as each town trying to find a way to credential their employees as well as keep them on board. It was a big topic of conversation. And I figured I was in a city administrators meeting and they were talking about there's a CO2 shortage. And a lot of municipalities, I hear that they treat their water with CO2. And so if you hear about it, Mike, I have it on good authority from Mr. Grafsgaard over there that we don't use CO2 to treat our water, so we're good. And so I wouldn't let that alarm you if you do hear about it. Thank you, Mike, for always being just a text message away on an immediate question. So, but yeah, like I said, I just want to let you know in case you hear that City of Devils Lake does not use CO2 to treat our water. And then, we're talking about the legislative session a lot and what's going to be talked about in North Dakota, NDPERS, defined benefit pension plan. That's currently what we have for our employees. And if they choose to adopt a different strategy with that, we're going to be in that boat. So we need to continue to monitor that, as well as, property taxes and prairie dog infrastructure funding. So they're all things we'll just continue to monitor. And then lastly, I would just say Special Assessment Commission meeting. They're going to certify special assessments tomorrow. It's the public hearing date. So if somebody wants to appeal to the Special Assessment Commission, they have that opportunity. It'll be tomorrow at 10 a.m. here at City Hall. And then we'll have a special meeting. I believe it's October 27th at noon for the City Commission to give final approval. And again, sincere apologies. We did get started on the timeline a little late. We got to get to the county by November 1 and certain publishing requirements.
Yeah, same way with the minutes of the meeting. Are we starting to publish them? I've had some people ask me about that.
Yeah, there's bare minimum standards and there's going above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And we've internally looked at the large expenditure in publishing, whether it's meeting notes or penalty clauses of ordinances and advertising the necessary things and trying to adopt the best strategy that we can moving forward with that. And so yes, we've talked today about it. So
with our meetings videotape now, is that going to help with our publishing and some of that?
I think
reference that, or is that legal?
Just because you stream it doesn't remove state centric code
Okay.
and our requirements. And so we do need to be doing that.
All right.
And so yeah.
Okay. That's everything?
That's what I got. Well, Brina's got a quick update to give you guys on some things that we're doing with Express Bill Pay.
Okay.
Even while we're just trying to catch up from all the staff changes, they're still trying to move forward on good things and customer service for the citizens of Devils Lake. So
we just added accounts receivable to Express Bill Pay, so people who aren't city customers can go online and pay their landfill bill or their roll-off bill, whatever they have. Surrey had problems with people paying it and then nowhere to post it, so we figured we better get that going sooner than later. So that's what we did with Express Bill Pay.
Thank you.
you can now pay those online versus having to come.
It's convenient. Very good. Thank you, Brina. Jack.
Just a couple updates. I'm working on a formal opinion on the transient merchant ordinance, but right now it doesn't comply with North Dakota law due to the amount of the it's either the fine or the application. I don't recall offhand, but so we shouldn't be enforcing it. But I'll get you guys a formal opinion on recommendations for changing that and what to do with the current ordinance. And then I'm also looking at revising some of our criminal ordinances to kind of comport with the Century Code a little bit more. And so I'll have some on that later.
Okay. How about the nuisance one? Are we we're making any headway in that? Did we discuss that?
I think we continue to do due diligence on that. It's on the list as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't want to forget
I've been
that.
working with Spencer, the chief, on a couple different,
Perfect.
chief, on a couple different uses.
Good enough. Okay, anything else? Anything, any other commissioner has to bring up? Not, we'll move on. Old business, there's nothing under that. Consent agenda, nothing there. So the first item under new business is the Blue Cross Blue Shield North Dakota self-funded renewal of health, vision, and dental.
Just a pretty administrative matter, as you remember, throughout the budget process, our health insurance rates, given the recommendations from Blue Cross Blue Shield, the staff recommendation was to keep all of our health care employee and employer contributions as well as the dollar amounts the same moving forward. Just need some signed documents from Blue Cross Blue Shield, given that we pay them an administrative fee, wanted to take it before the commission to get approval. So just like I said, administrative so that we can move forward with the year and if this is budget for.
Okay. So a motion from Commissioner Pierce,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Hamry. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Second item, the city auto and property insurance strategy.
Yeah, so President Moe, members of the commission, as the new administrator here, just meeting with folks that work with the city. And we have Jordan Herman here from Bravera Insurance, who is acts as our conduit to the North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund. And in talking with him, he did a really thorough analysis on the past 5 years of our auto claims history, and as well as new policy offerings that there are on the property side from the North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund. And from the analysis that they did, there might be some cost savings in changing and shifting how we adjust our strategy as it relates to where we're being, we'll say, more conservative and less conservative. Right now, we operate our auto insurance on $500 deductibles, and there's an analysis that if we were to increase those to $2,000, given the number of claims that we've had and our savings on premium, there's roughly an $8,000 difference there. And insurance is one of those years where you have down years, you have up years, and so you're trying to ride the wave the best that you can, and complementing that with some offerings that there are from the Insurance Reserve Fund as it relates to property, which they call the Fire and Tornado Fund. And I just wanted to shift, probably covering our property a little bit more, given the cost of rebuilding is going to be significantly higher than a lot of what the valuations are, and taking on the decrease in premium and the increase in the deductible and the auto insurance. So just wanted to welcome number one, Jordan, to come up and number one, talk about the North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund and how they act and serve the city of Devils Lake, and as well as what he did looking at the auto insurance and the property insurance. And primarily, as far as dollars and cents, it's not a real big difference one way or the other. But given that we're changing where we're taking on a little bit more risk and taking on a little less, I figured it'd be good to bring it to the commission to have you guys review that. So welcome, Jordan.
Would you state your name, Jordan, for the record?
Sure. Jordan Herman,
Okay,
Bravera Insurance here in town.
thank you.
Spencer summarized it extremely well for a non-insurance
And I
professional.
told Jordan he has to use non-insurance lingo
Great.
and explain every big.
Keep it simple, right?
So yes, so Spencer was spot on, and I'll kind of run through really quick. We're the, I'd say, a liaison for NADERF and the State Fire and Tornado Fund. Agents have handled the NADERF policies for decades. The fire covering properties just happened 2-3 years ago. And the State Fire and Tornado Fund is actually making adjustments pretty quick. The program had not changed for decades prior to that, but they're taking recommendations from agents to alter the program. So Spencer and I have talked about a few different options they've come out with. And the one that we're really focusing on is, let's say the building we're in right now, I think it's insured around 1.1 million, roughly. If this building suffered a catastrophic loss and the city had to rebuild it, under the current policy and prior policies, 1.1 million is what the policy would pay. There are almost no ways to deviate from that after a loss. So the State Fire and Tornado Fund just started offering, they call it a blanket policy. So the city has, let's say, 50 buildings scattered throughout the region. they'll allow you to blanket all those values together, but they just cap any one building at 125% of its value. So if this building had a loss and we move forward with what Spencer was talking about, we'd have up to say 1.3 million or 1.4, whatever that value comes out to. So it really gives leeway to the city. There's no cost in doing that. The only cost is adjusting building values to what the State Fire and Tornado Fund inspection report said. So I think one of the items you guys have was the spreadsheet that goes through each building. All of them were pretty minor, except I believe was at the water treatment plant was recommended to go from like 8.7 million to 11 million. So that's probably the one building that carries a fair cost. And if we made both of these changes, oh, go ahead. Yes.
You don't have actually this building on that sheet.
Correct, because they're not recommending changing it. Sorry. So this sheet that we sent out was a summary of the changes recommended from the State Fire and Tornado Fund inspection. Yep. So that building, to keep it concise, we just pulled the buildings off that weren't being adjusted. Yep. So that is, it would probably be 3 pages of buildings to capture every single one. So very valid question. Doing both of these changes at the same time, like Spencer said, was a way of shifting the risk management practice as a city. If the city had 10 auto claims in a year at a $2,000 deductible, it would cost $20,000. It would chew away at any savings we had. In the last 7 years, the city has not had more than 8 claims in 1 year. So even at that volume of claims, the city would still be a little improved taking a higher deductible. But if you look at a catastrophic loss on a property policy, and if the city were out $1 million because of a shortage on insurance, that would have to probably come from some of the budgetary items that you guys are talking about, trying to do a tax assessment. So the shift here is really to take a small amount more calculated risk on smaller, more frequent claims, but to protect the city better on a less frequent but more catastrophic possible event. And the total is what Spencer said was the net. Average number of claims the city has is about 5. So if we average that number of claims, the city would still be $8,000 in an improved position versus staying at the current deductibles.
And that's at the 2,000 deductible?
Correct. Yep. This one spreadsheet that lists all the claims, that one, we worked through 6 years of claims and averaged everything out. So every year, if the city had done this 6 years in the past, the city would have benefited $9,000 on their net cost, their premium savings less their higher deductibles paid. So I'm confident that unless something drastically changes in the driving behavior of the employees, you guys will see pretty significant savings moving forward.
And President Moe, members of the commission, I just said, the $8,000 is minor in compared to the grand scheme of the whole budget, but bringing it before you as we're changing where we're taking more risk and taking a little less risk and shifting that. And the reason why we want to make sure that we get your input on that before we do that.
Every penny we can save is where we can use it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So there's nothing light about $8,000. It's a nice chunk of change.
So I'd really like to thank Jordan. He was extremely thorough. I met with him the first time and I had to meet with him again. I said, okay, you got to dumb this down and explain it to me again.
Thanks for bringing it to our attention, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Appreciate it. Any questions of Jordan?
So this stuff will go into effect?
Yeah, we'll, if should the commission approve it as per the staff recommendation, we'll get moving on whatever it takes to get this moving forward.
With the auto and then upping the limits on the buildings?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you. Okay, wishes of the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations on the city auto and property insurance.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Pierce. All in favor, or any further discussion? None being, all in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, first reading of the 985 commission meeting order of business. Spencer, I'll let you handle that. I see we have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, President Mo, members of the commission, just comes out of our, the conversation that we had as far as the citizen comment period. Our order of business is set by city code, so it takes a first and a second reading. I added just so I just put citizen comments on the bottom. I did add an awards and proclamation section, just as I thought of tonight. I thought it'd be nice to have a little section there
Good point.
for employees and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you'll see letter B is awards and proclamations, letter I is citizen comment. And then just wrote a citizen comment guideline and policy as kind of what we had loosely discussed and explicitly written in city code. So just put that before you. As far as the 5 minutes, had to pick a time, a length of time. That's at the commission's discretion, whichever you'd like to see. And I would add, and so that I would just, the only thing in there in the policy is if you want to speak, you got to submit a citizen comment, submit a card that says you wish to speak by the beginning of the meeting. So
That's fair.
that was the one. And then time can't be yielded to anyone else. And if people want to submit a written statement, they can.
The only thing I'd see here is if we got 5:30 bids and hearings, you should probably have that before the awards and proclamations. Otherwise, you might push that 5:30 time.
If I wanted to lean one way or the other, it'd be after 5:30. That way they're already here. But I think, if it's the commission's wish to switch them up, certainly
Well,
can do
if
that.
you've got 5:30 written down,
That's just, you got to be here at 5:30 and it's going to happen through that process of business, I guess. I don't know if it mattered. I mean, it makes no difference to me.
I don't see an issue, but if the commission would like, we can.
Well, no,
Everything is just, it's going to take place at 5:30 and everybody is here to be presented. If it happens 5 minutes late, I don't know that that's a big,
Then they'll have to see our employees get their awards.
that's
We
always
give them a
nice.
round of applause too.
What's the wishes of the commission?
So it's just the first reading, so we don't have to
Yeah.
do anything with it.
Oh, that's right. Nothing, no action. Okay. All right. We'll move on. Citizen comment policy. Oh, that's all right. Okay. Pay estimate, city project 220201 West Side. And I guess Mike has comments on that?
The estimate includes work that's been completed to date. The water mains have passed inspection, been approved. Total work is $313,969.13. Total due this estimate, $301,410.36. Recommend approval.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Hamry, seconded by Commissioner Hatt. Okay. Any further discussion?
Infrastructure is really exciting.
Boy,
so I
is it ever.
understand.
Don't get me started.
Get rid of it. Okay. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins?
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce?
Aye.
Commissioner Hammond?
Aye.
Henry? Sorry. Commissioner Henry?
Sorry.
Commissioner Hash?
Aye.
President Mo?
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Daha.
Next item, pay estimate number 3, 2022 curb, gutter, and sidewalk. Mike?
Maybe everyone can get a chance, Mayor, but total due this estimates for work completed to date, $13,471.50.
It's a whole lot cheaper.
We'll have more coming.
I'll make
take
that
Commissioner
motion to
Robbins.
approve that payment.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
And Commissioner Pierce second. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins?
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce?
Aye.
Commissioner Henry?
Aye.
Commissioner Hash?
Aye.
President Mo?
Aye. Motion carries. Pay estimate number 5, city project 220101, mill and overlay. Mike?
Important part of this pay estimate is that it's the final pay estimate for the mill and overlay work completed for this year. I'd draw the commission's attention to the contract cost. The contract cost was just over $976,000, and this is the final payment. And the total work completed was $997,000. So percentage-wise, it's very close when you're doing a mill and overlay project to have the quantity of the asphalts and things fall in line with that. So pretty happy with that. Sometimes you can encounter a roadway that ends up taking a lot more full depth repair where you have a lot more work to do on that roadway than what you had estimated. In some cases, you have some curb and gutter work. Sometimes cases, there's some things that you just end up burning up a few more dollars. But in this particular case, we're very close to what the original contract amount was. So total work completed was $997,240.45. Total due this estimate, $233,381.80. And again, that's the final pay estimate for this work. Recommend approval.
Okay. Recommendation,
Motion.
motion by Commissioner Hatch,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hamry. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins?
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce?
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry?
Aye.
Commissioner Hash?
Aye.
President Mo?
Aye. Motion carried. Motion carried. Recommendation of appointment of member to the Parking Authority. We have a memo before us asking that they reappoint Gary Conkins to the 5-year term in the Parking Authority.
I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation.
Commissioner Robbins makes motion.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Pierce. Any discussion? None being, all in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to pay the bills
I'll make motion to pay the bills.
by Commissioner Robbins.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Pierce. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins?
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce?
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry?
Aye.
Commissioner Hash?
Aye.
President Mo?
Aye. Motion carries. We have before us, approve of payment, or excuse me, the commission, report from the August from the municipal court. Spit that out here. I'm sorry. And anybody have any questions regarding that? Not? We also have the sales tax report. I guess I'll let Spencer give us that.
I just draw your attention the last to the sales tax collections report for Q3 year to date, as well as Blue Cross Blue Shield claims for the health insurance reserve fund, the self-funded reserve fund. I would just note the state aid. It shows that it's negative 9.6% year to date. Last year, they just changed to starting to give it to us on a monthly basis. So we received a payment in January of 2021, which was for December, November, and October of 2020. So I would say 19's number or 2021's numbers are skewed a little bit at this point year to date. So, but otherwise everything is coming in basically on pace for last year. Restaurant tax is just down a little bit. So, but it's all about when everything was collected, when it gets reported, and so we'll continue to monitor. And then Blue Cross, the self-insurance reserve fund, is coming in just at slightly lower than anticipated year to date last year. So that's good to see. And an insurance heavy commission meeting, there's always ups and downs, but you just got to ride the wave. And so we're riding the wave.
Thank you, Spencer. And before we end, I would just like to recognize Ashley Peterson. Welcome. She's the new Al McKay, who's the Ramsey County Public Health Administrator. Good. Well, thank you for showing up at our meeting and welcome aboard. And hopefully you'll have a better year than last couple of years with some of the issues. Okay.
Mayor,
Well-
I'd like to, I just real quick wanted to commend Devils Lake High School and the city for the Fall Festival and the parade this past weekend. It was a great turnout for the parade. Both people in the parade and observing the parade. It was amazing. And I just wanted to make sure they were commended on a job well done.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. If nothing else before the commission, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.